Well, good morning. How's everybody feeling? Good? You guys get any coffee drinkers in the room? I won't tell your parents, I promise. Any Mountain Dew drinkers? I regrettably actually have a Red Bull over there that I don't tell my parents about that. I'm feeling energized today. And I'm really thrilled to be here to help kick off the start of Global Classrooms DC Model UN Conference. And my plan is to talk for a few minutes up front before we open up to a larger Q&A. Does that sound okay? All right. So let me begin by very quickly thanking Ambassador Bliss for the warm introduction. Let me thank the great team at UNA for all of their work in Global Classrooms DC for putting on this amazing event with colleagues from the US Department of State. I'd also like to recognize Tima, who you're going to hear from very shortly, for her great work that she's done over the last year as Secretary General. But most importantly, as Ambassador Bliss mentioned, I want to thank you all for being with us today, for taking the time to come through security about 15 minutes ago, for working on some complex, challenging issues and coming up with actionable solutions that hopefully you all are going to be sharing later today. Now, if you haven't noticed yet, we've got an incredibly impressive group of young people in this room. If you just raise your hand, we're the middle schoolers. If you're in middle school, raise your hand. Awesome. How about the high schoolers, the high school leaders? Awesome. How about, are there any fifth graders with us? All right. Fifth graders. Now, who is here for the first time in the Model UN? Who is a first timer for Model UN? Awesome. And how about, we're the grizzled veterans of Model UN? Awesome, we got a few of them, good. Now, who won the Model UN lottery and gets to be Djibouti for the day? Good, we got a few Djiboutis. I remember when I was growing up, Djibouti was always the one that everyone wanted because there were a lot of UN puns that you could use for Djibouti. Who's representing the US? Good, we got some people representing the US. It's gonna be a good day. Well, as Ambassador Bliss mentioned, my name's Andy Rabens, and I serve as a special advisor for global youth issues here at the State Department. And I've got to be honest with you all and say that I've been incredibly excited and looking forward to talking to you all for some time. Because you may not all realize it, but you all represent incredible power and potential to help us solve some of the pressing challenges that we face today. And even more importantly, as young leaders from Washington, D.C., growing up in our nation's capital, and also Maryland and Virginia, like it or not, you guys are examples for the rest of the world. So we need your leadership on your campuses, in your communities, and in our countries, starting right now. So today, I want to focus on two main topics. First, I want to talk with you all and urge the need to unlock your voices and share the unique perspectives that each of you have on some of our pressing challenges, both internationally and also locally. And second, I want to urge you all to apply your Model UN skill sets of empathy, of problem solving, and of consensus building to your daily lives. And be the leaders and bridge builders that we so desperately need right now. Now, I remember back to my first Model UN and being in some of your shoes for the first timers. Granted, those shoes were Allen Iverson's and not anything to no LeBron James or Kevin Durant at that time. And granted that I had a Motorola pager, if anyone knows what that was, strapped to my belt instead of a slick smartphone in my pocket. But I remember our team getting Jordan as our country, a place that I, at the time, could barely locate on the map. And I remember being struck by fear, struck by a little bit of fear. Fear of having to develop an opinion on a challenging topic from the shoes of a place that I knew very little about, and by the fear of potentially having to speak up publicly in an eventual Model UN on that issue, representing Jordan. And I remember wanting to sneak away, and leave the Model UN club on the spot. Luckily, a good friend convinced me to stay, and we ended up diving right into the work. And over a span of a few months, we tried to understand the issues, we tried to understand the points of view of Jordan, and eventually, when Model UN came around, we were able to pretty effectively represent Jordan and bring some of our own unique views, ideas, and opinions to a challenging topic of Middle East peace. The two lessons I took away from Model UN were, one, that I had a unique perspective to some of the pressing challenges that we faced at the time. And two, that these tools that we're learning through Model UN of empathy, putting yourselves in the shoes of others, of problem solving, figuring out where overlapping interests might align, and consensus building, bringing people with different views together, that these were powerful skill sets that could be applied both inside and also outside of your classroom. I couldn't help thinking about the possibilities of applying some of the same techniques and tactics that we did with Jordan to our playground, and trying to actually understand the viewpoints of different groups, of different crews of people, of different cliques, and trying to see the world through their eyes. And using some of the same problem-solving skill sets to come up with ways to build consensus and to bridge some of these disparate groups. It turns out that Model UN skill sets actually have a lot of application in our daily lives and in our communities. So we're here today not just to meet some interesting folks, which I know you will, or to get a taste of multilateral diplomacy that will hopefully inspire some of you to pursue careers as diplomats, but also to empower your voices and build the skill sets that can better enable you to be leaders inside and also outside of the classroom. The Model UN skill sets of empathy, of problem solving, and of consensus building are going to help you be bridge builders in all walks of your life. And the good news is that you've got plenty of opportunities to practice these skill sets. When disagreements arise about what movie to go watch, when you've got to reach into that Model UN bag and pull out your consensus building strategies. When different groups of friends are having trouble getting along or making jokes at the expense of others, you've got to reach back into that Model UN bag and pull out your empathy strategies. Consider the feelings of others. Put yourself in their shoes. Understand the perspectives of all sides. And when a friend is being lured down a negative path, well, you've got to reach back in again to that Model UN bag and pull out your problem-solving strategies and help figure out a way to push them back down a more positive pathway. Leadership starts in the classroom. It then expands to your community. And then it expands to our country as a whole. And from reading many of your bios, your biographies, a sense of what you do in the school you go to, reading some of the policy proposals that I know you have already put forward, there's no doubt that you all are already leaders. So I've got 3 closing asks for you. 3 asks. First ask is to make sure that your voices are heard and that you speak up even when you're afraid that your voice or opinion won't be counted. Everyone's voice counts. And it is up to all of us to make sure that those voices are counted and heard. You don't have to be from a certain neighborhood, wear certain clothes, be seemingly perfect in every aspect of your life to be a leader, or to have your voice heard? We need your voices. Ask number one. Ask number two, to make sure that you utilize your Model UN skill sets as bridge builders in your community. And that means, in practice, exploring new parts of the city. That means connecting with new groups of people at school, even if they may look or sound differently from you. That means trying to find new ways to build consensus among different groups of people and to continuously encourage inclusive environments to be formed. And last but not least, the third ask is for you to be ambitious about your futures. I'd love nothing more than to hopefully work with many of you down the road as diplomats. Don't let anyone tell you that anything is not doable or possible. Or most importantly, that anything can't be done. Because one of my mentors, one of my heroes, not mentors, I should say, heroes, someone who I looked up to, who I'm sure many of you know incredibly well from the textbooks, the late, great Nelson Mandela, has a pretty good quote that he said often, and some of you may already know this. He often said that it always seems impossible. Anyone know the rest of that? Until it is done. It always seems impossible until it is done. So take that mentality as you move forward from these halls and this day. So thank you all so much for your time, and I look forward to a little question and answer going forward.